Lesson 7, Box Plots, Part 1, Vocabulary. At the top of your paper, you have a vocab reference with all the important words that we're going to be working with, not only this lesson, but the entire topic. So this is a way that you can look back to remember what each of these words mean after watching this video. So I want you to actually go down to where it says practice, calculate the 5-number summary for a set of data. We are going to go through this and we're going to learn what each of the words mean in a context. So we know how it looks, how it's applied, and that can actually help better our understanding when we are working in mathematics. So let's start with the practice problem data set, the points the Vikings football team scored each game in the 2022 season. So in the table, we are given that information. So we can see the game number in game 1, they scored 23 points. In game 2, 7 points. In game 3, 28 points. So we can see total, we have 17 games that were played in the season. So that means we're going to have 17 data points. So step 1, we want to order our data from least to greatest. We always want to start with that if our data is not already ordered that way. So to complete that, we're going to use our points row, and we're going to find the smallest value, which is 3. And we are going to put that down, 3. And then we'll find the next smallest, which is 7. The next one would be 17. Then the next one would be 20. So I want you to pause this video and then finish ordering the data from least to greatest. All right, this is what your data set should look like. And one way to make sure you used all the data is to count and make sure you have 17, as we have our total is 17 numbers. So step 2 is to identify the median. So median is our first mathematical word that we are interacting with. So median is the middle number in a data set that is ordered from least to greatest. So that's why we did step 1. We ordered it from least to greatest, but we need to now find that middle value. So one way we can do that is by marking off a small number and then a large number. Go from the bottom end to the top end of our data, marking off 1 on each side, and that will allow us to get down to the middle of our data set. And here we can see we're left with one number, 28, and that is our middle or median value. All right, so step 3 is to identify 2 values. It's the Q1, which stands for quartile 1 or first quartile, and our Q3 value or quartile 3. So in that word quartile, we can kind of hear quarter. So quartiles are just breaking up the data into groups of 4. We want 4 sections of our data. So the first quartile is the middle number of the ordered data below the median. So in our data set, we have 2 sets of data. We have our data below the median, and we have the data above our median. So the first quartile is going to break up the data below, the data boxed in green, into 2 sections. We're going to find the middle of that set of data. So to find the middle, again, we just mark off top and bottom till we find the middle. Oh, but this one's different. We've got 2 numbers that are left in the middle. So how do we work when we find 2 middle numbers instead of just 1? So to find the 2 middle numbers to make it one middle number, we're going to add them up and divide by 2. 20 plus 23 is 43. We divide that by 2, and we get 21.5. So that would be our Q1 value, 21.5. All right, so then we do the same thing to find the Q3, except for now we use the upper half of the data, the numbers above the median. So we find the middle value, and we can see again 2 numbers left over. This time the numbers are the same, so the Q3 value is going to be that value of 33. So you don't have to draw this on your paper, but just to demonstrate, we've now broken up the data into 4 chunks. We have our first quartile, our second quartile, our third quartile, and our fourth quartile. So it's allowing us to break up our data into 4 chunks to be able to explore and discover different trends and different patterns. All right, step 4 is identify the minimum, which is our smallest value, which is 3, and our maximum, which is our highest value, 39. So these 5 values that we just calculated from our data is the 5-number summary. The 5-number summary begins with the minimum value, which is 3. Then it goes to the Q1 value. Then it is the median value, which is 28. That middle number goes in the middle of our 5-number summary. Then it is the Q3. And lastly, it is the maximum value. And this 5-number summary allows us to explore data and trends in the points that the Vikings scored. So one thing that I can notice right now is that the distance between my minimum and my Q1 value, that's about 17, 18 numbers away. Whereas the Q3 to the max is a lot smaller. That's only 6 numbers away. So there's a bigger variation in our first chunk of data, in that first set of 4, than in that last chunk of data. So these are things that calculating these values is going to help us as we explore data and statistics in this upcoming topic. All right, and then we're going to do some additional calculations, other beneficial calculations that can help us explore data. The first one is the mean. Mean is mathematical for the average. That might be a term that you've heard before. But how we find it, it is the sum of a set of numbers divided by the total count of numbers in that set. So we add up all the numbers, all of our data points. We're going to add up all of these values. And then we are going to divide by the total amount of numbers, which again was 17, that total amount of data points that we have. So using my calculator, I can add up all of the values in our data set. Once we've added them all up, we can divide that value by 17. And we get a decimal of 25.58. We're going to round to the nearest tenth, which is just one number after the decimal point. So when we round to the nearest tenth, we take that number in the tenth tenths place, we find our place. We look next door. Is that number 5 or higher? Yes, 8 is 5 or higher, so we are going to add 1. We're going to round it up to 25.6. So for our mean, we are going to put 25.6. Mode is the next word. Mode is the number that occurs the most often in a data set. So if we look at our data, we can see if we have any repeated values. So I see I have 27 repeated. 28 also repeats, 29, 33, and 34. Since all of them repeat twice, they appear in the data set 2 times, they all end up being the mode. So 27, 28, 29, 33, and 34, because they all appear the most often in the data set. Range is our next calculation. Range is the difference between the largest and smallest numbers in a data set. Now that is just another way of saying we're going to take our maximum value and we are going to subtract our minimum value. So those are already values that we have found, so we can just replace that. Our maximum was 39, and we are going to subtract, find the difference of our. So 39 minus 3 is 36. So that is our range of values. And lastly, we have IQR. IQR stands for interquartile range. It's found very similarly to how we find range. We are going to subtract 2 values. Interquartile range is the difference between the Q3 and the Q1. So we are subtracting our quartile 3 and our quartile 1 value. So Q3 is 33 and Q1 is 21.5. We found those in step 3. 33 minus 21.5 is 11.5. So that is how we calculate all of these mathematical values that help us analyze data sets.